Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are in War Thunder and we're having a look at the new vehicles that are going to be available in the export event, which is upcoming. This is obviously the crafting event or the Build-A-Bear event that is going to be around. I thought why not have a look at the vehicles before they get released. So this is the PT16 T14 mod. This is the Leopard 2 prototype that we have been, having a look at. This is probably the main prize for the vast majority of people that are interested when it comes to this vehicle and also comes to this event. It's definitely looking like a spicy one, but it is a toss-up between the F5A and also this, which one is more interesting. Remember that in this configuration it is stock, so unfortunately we're not able to see it at its full potential, but we can have a look at its modifications. It doesn't get access, at least right now, to a laser rangefinder. Remember that when it comes to these vehicles, remember this is pre-release, so they may change by the time that this obviously the event starts. So it doesn't have access to a laser rangefinder, gets access to MVDs but not thermals, but does get access to DM23. So it has exactly the same rounds as the Leopard 2K. It also has the same engine as the Leopard 2K. The reason why it's a little bit lower right now is because it doesn't have the modifications, so this thing will be up to standard when it comes to the Leopard 2K. And also it has that interesting auto-loading system in what looks like a blowout panel, if I'm honest with you. I'm wondering if it's going to work like a blowout panel, because it is at the back of the vehicle and there is actual plates between everything, 29mm in there, and that will obviously increase crew survivability quite a lot, which is quite nice. So the key thing about this vehicle is it actually has, you can actually see the fuel tank doesn't cover the ammo. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if that's supposed to be pushed left a bit. But the interesting thing about this vehicle is it has this auto-loading system, but it still has a loader. So it still has the four-man crew, the gunner, commander, driver. The commander does have dual control of the gun, so you've got to think about that. But the loader is also here to help with the loading mechanism, even if it is automatically loaded. And its reload rate is 4 seconds for the first 9 pieces of ammunition. Then after that it actually goes down to about 8.7, so it's still really good for a 120, especially one which is auto-loaded. So that's where that loader comes in to be able to increase that. The optics obviously 8 to 15.9 times, which would be really nice, and overall the auto-loading system looks really nice on this vehicle. Really good gun depression as well, 9 degrees, good turret rotation, which will only improve with modifications. I don't know why the vertical aiming drive is down here. I'm guessing it's supposed to be up, or maybe it's not, but it just seems like in a bit of a weird place. The gun is fully stabilized, it is 2-plane, so that's pretty good on it. But even though you have this crazy autoloader, one of the things you don't really have is too much armor, and this is kind of the thing you see with the Leopard 2K as well. But the Leopard 2K can get away with it because it has some insane angles on it. This thing, not so much. So this is the area where it kind of gets let down. So let's talk about it versus DM23, which is, pretty much like the standard round at this area, or even DM33. But so you can see here, 130 on the low glacis, definitely not good enough to be able to stop. When it comes to the upper glacis, maybe you get a ricochet chance somewhere, but it's not going to be that often. You basically have up to 180mm of defense, which is just not good. Around the breach, there are certain areas which will stop rounds. If you get weird ricochets, like up here for example, if you decide to shoot at the top of the breach, it will take out the gun, but it'll do no damage. The cheeks are only 223 and 220 on the sides, so there's definitely not enough armor to be able to stop a round. I think a lot of people are going to shoot in this area because it hits him, and then also it'll take out the ammo in the back, so it will just explode the vehicle. Or they'll go for the 1, 2, 3 punch and try and shoot there. Maybe it'll ricochet, or over here take out the driver, kill the gunner and the commander. in one hit, or just, if they have full ammo, just straight through the fuel tank and annihilate everything. So the armor is not great on this thing, you know, only 100 on the sides, and then, what was it, 35, 50 on the side here, which is obviously really bad. It's going to get torn apart by that, but you don't play this vehicle for its armor. You play it for its mobility and its gun handling, which both are really, really good, especially with access to DM23 and that 4-second reload. When it comes to camouflages, at least right now, it does just have the standard ones, so brown, and then the winter one, and of course the 3-tone Kark, which is always a classic, and then the tricolor desert camouflage as well. My feeling about this vehicle is it's going to be very good. I think this, I'm not sure it'll be meta defining, but it's going to be one of those vehicles which is super strong at its general BR. With the 4-second reload, there's really nothing you can kind of compete with that at the BR. Like 4 seconds when it comes to reloads is kind of insane. It's definitely going to be one of the fastest around the place, and also with the beefy engine, which is the same or similar to the Leopard 2Ks, and the fact that you have this awesome gun rotation and also vertical drive and everything like that. This thing's going to be a bit of a monster in the right hands. So I know how powerful the Type 90 is and how powerful people use it with, or how powerful people can be in it, and I feel like this vehicle is going to be similar, so that's a little bit worrying. We'll have to see how it does in the event itself. The next one is the Pansarbil M40, or as it's known here, the P-Bil M40. This is the premium little armored car, which is coming to the Swedish at rank 1 1.3. It has the 20mm cannon and also one 8mm machine gun, and also another one, which is here, but unfortunately I don't think it's actually in the hole yet, but I'm sure it will be at some point, or maybe that's just supposed to be kind of like that. This has quite a lot of really cool and interesting factors to it. The first one being, of course, negative 10 degrees of gun depression on this 20mm. That will actually be really nice. It also has a crew of 6, which is incredibly surprising for the size of this vehicle. It has 2 machine gunners in the back, and also it has the driver and a machine gunner in the front. So definitely compact. You can see the other machine gun back here too, and then also you've got the commander and the gunner over here. And the commander also performs the loading duties because the ammo is around this side over here. Also has a fuel tank here, and the engine is over here right now. Remember, these things are in their stock configuration, so some of these stats are going to be wrong. And the gun itself is, as we said, the 20mm, and what it gets access to when it comes to rounds is APT Heavy, and then some Heavy, and then just APT. So the most you're going to be able to pen is 42mm. That's not bad. It's not the best around the place, but 42, 32, 16. So compared to a few of the other machines that have rapid fire guns at this BR, not the best, but not the worst. So that's pretty nice. You get access to artillery. You don't get access to scouting, unfortunately, mainly because this vehicle is a rank 1, and no rank 1s get scouting in the game. And if we have a look at its armor profile, well, it's got 9mm on the front, and then 12mm here, and also on the turret mask. On the sides, 10 and 8 and 9 on the turret, and then basically the same behind as well. The only interesting thing for me is this thing can actually go forward 70 kilometers an hour and backwards 70 kilometers an hour. So it has the dual drive setup kind of thing. Or not dual drive, but you know what I mean, where basically it's like the SDKFCs, where it has, you know, the driver in the front, the driver in the back, and they both seem to be able to control the vehicle, even though the main head of the transmission is back here. So that's really awesome. You can get in and out of situations pretty quickly in this thing. It also has access to some pretty cool camos. You know, the quadricolor is always a fantastic camouflage to be seen, and it even has a gray camo, if you want to just run around in a bit of grey. But this vehicle for me looks awesome. It looks like a little bit of fun, and that's generally, you know, what I want when it comes to these vehicles. Actually, just check on something. So it has a reload rate of 1.3 seconds, which obviously is very, very good. And also, how big is the belt on this? We'll have a look in game. So you get 7 belts with the vehicle, which is not bad, and there's 36 rounds in that. So overall, not too shabby. You can see this is its general maneuverability on road. It's not the fastest, but remember, we are in its stock configuration. That will only improve. Sounds like a very meaty gun. It's quite a large machine, actually, thinking about it. But the suspension is definitely working overtime to keep this thing going straight. But yeah, I think as the small reward for this crafting event, I think this is a really good pick. I hope that we see the M39 at some point in the game as well. That would be really cool to see. And at the same time, it's nice to always see something for the Swedish, so pretty happy to see it. It actually slides around the road pretty effectively. Whoop! Let's see if we can do a drift. There you go. We also have the HMS Mohawk. This is actually coming in at 4.7, surprisingly. So not like some of the other British destroyers that we have around this area, which are 4.3, and that must be because of its increase in main armament. This vehicle has 4 dual-mounted 4.7-inch guns. These guns I've used to great effect when it comes to naval in general. I've actually had a great time using machines like this for the British, just because of the fact you can create a small silhouette because of how the guns are mounted, and also because of the good fire rate on the guns themselves. The Mohawk is slightly different from this because the back turret is actually in quite an awkward position, so actually getting guns on target, you're going to have to like angle it like over here or over here. So you're going to have to angle the machine like this or this instead of like this or like this, which is what you could do before. So I'm not sure how useful that back turret will be in terms of how you normally play these British ships. It also has a quad 40, which you can see right here on the machine, right in the center. It also has 2 quad sets of 12.7 millimeters, so hopefully that quad 40 can keep you alive from aircraft attacking you, because my experience with those 12.7s is they're not great, and they have really weird moving around the place. Then also what we have is the torpedoes, so you get 4 of them, the 533 Mark 9s, so they'll be useful in arcade just to try and block off an area, but I don't think they'll be too useful in realistic. And then if we have a look at the setup of this thing, so one of the things that Deadblock talked about is where the ammo is stored. Obviously you have the huge ammunition set up in the front here for these 2 guns, which is normal on a lot of these British ships, but in the back you can see this is going to be a wonderful thing to explode. This is going to pop like crazy because there isn't actually any armor there. So the moment you hit this, the whole of the back of the ship is going to go woof and just absolutely explode. Has some fuel tanks between the ammo and the engines, so that's always nice. The transmissions, obviously, two or technically 3 smoke funnels, but 2 smoke funnels. And then you've also got the engines, which, you know, actually there's quite a lot of free space here, which is kind of surprising. Normally this is chock-a-block. And then also you got the bridge and the fire control room, and then obviously the radio station here. The extra armor you get on this thing is on the, I suppose, the turrets of the 4.7s, 3.2 millimeters, so that's not really going to stop anything, and then 12.7 on the Vickers guns. The overall hull is only 60 millimeters thick, with the superstructure being 4, so this thing is not going to be survivable, but it should be able to put out a lot of firepower with the guns. The guns themselves have 10 rounds per minute, so that means reload every 6 seconds. Then you have you know, 8 guns overall, so 8 guns reloading every 6 seconds, not too shabby. It's got a decent sized first stage ammo storage as well, which goes at 12 rounds per minute, so you get an even better fire rate with that, so that's really good as well. Most of the time you'll be firing about 12 rounds a minute. It does have access to all of the standard 4.7 shells, so it gets the SAP, the HEVT, and the HETF. Also gets access to the torpedo mode to make those torpedoes a little bit more useful, because they only go 9.60, but with the torpedo mode, what it does is it adds 2,700, so therefore they will be able to go distances of nearly or around about 12k, which will be really good for it. The other thing on the machine is it does get access to depth charges, but only gets access to 4 of them. Oh no, sorry, 2 of them. So you only get 2 depth charges on it for the bomb mortar, which seems a bit odd. My guess is they'll actually change that at some point. And then the 40s also have access to different belts, which is pretty nice. So this is looking like a good machine. We'll have to see how it does at 4.7. It's obviously a very strong 4.3 if they decide to put that in, but I think generally this should be quite competitive. And for the Americans, you obviously have the F5A. Now, this vehicle is obviously already in the game in the Chinese tech tree, in the form of the F5A, but this one is slightly different. It gets access to RWR and flares. Now, I believe because this thing is getting access to these, the F5A for China is also getting access to them, which is really nice. So that should give it a little bit of a buff, especially since it's at 11.0, and this one right now is at 10.3. So we'll see how that all goes. The F5A is going to be rank 6, and as I said, 10.3, at least for now. It has access to the J85 GE13s with 1350 kgf of afterburner thrust. Also has access to the 2 20mm M39A2s in the nose, so pretty standard for the machine, and also gets this absolutely beautiful skin as the standard one. It does actually get another one. It's known as the TTS camouflage. Looks much more like in-service America is probably the way to put it here, so I'm pretty happy to see this in general. There's no armor on it, unfortunately, but when it comes to its modifications, it gets access to AIM-9Es, gets access to a ton of different bomb types, the bullpups, the 12Bs, and also some rockets, so you can see all of the different configurations that we have here. It can bring the 3,000-pound bombs and 2 AIM-9Es, only AIM-9Es though, unfortunately. Doesn't get access to any other ones. Does get access to a 2,000-pound bomb though, if you want to drop that. But yeah, this is very similar to the Chinese F5A that we have in the game. You can bring just a ton of different loadouts on it, which is pretty fun, but I think most people are just going to use it as a dogfighter. Does get stock AIM-9Bs, so even if you are stock, you will get some kind of missile armament, which is nice on the machine. Whether, you know, AIM-9Bs are not that useful, but it's better than having nothing, which is basically the way that I see this. It does get access to 60 countermeasures as well, so that should also help it out in a decent way. But yeah, that's all the vehicles that are coming to the game in the export order event. We'll have to see some more news on when it is going to be. A lot of people have been asking me when I think it's going to be out. My guess is either at the end of this week or the start of next week, but we'll see. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Professor X 1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, BRFC 15, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, and then Kyle Kin, Bareen, Lafouche, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.